During Lent, we are studying Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, found in Matthew's Gospel. This is week 3 of that study, and we begin at chapter 6. Jesus preaches, "Beware of practicing your piety before others in order to be seen by them, for then you have no reward from your Father in heaven. So, whenever you give alms, do not sound a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they may be praised by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your alms may be done in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And whenever you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners, so that they may be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But whenever you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret. And your Father who is in secret will reward you. When you are praying, do not heap up empty phrases as the Gentiles do, for they think that they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him." The word of the Lord. As you know, I have only recently returned from a place that is littered with sacred spots. You cannot swing a cat without hitting a sign for a holy site. Did you see the cat pictures yesterday? Go on Facebook, all the cats of Israel. You cannot swing one of those cats and not hit a road sign that says, "Holy site this way." And it's really actually quite overwhelming to have it all there in one small spot. There to the right is the Sea of Galilee, and down there is King David's tomb, and the Garden of Gethsemane, the Pool of Siloam, even the mountain where Jesus stood to preach this sermon that you just heard a part of. Holy places cover every hill and every valley of that land. And perhaps the most famous of all of those holy places is the Western Wall. You may have heard it called the Wailing Wall. And what sets it apart, on the one hand, it is one of the most holy sites for the Jewish people, and on the other hand, it's a complete accident. It was never meant to be holy. You find it in Jerusalem's Old City, and it is one of the holiest sites for the Jewish people, but everyone from popes to presidents have also gone there to pray and to stuff the little prayers in the crevices of the rock. But it's just a wall. In fact, it's a retaining wall. When King Herod built the temple long ago, he didn't want it to slide down the mountain through erosion, so he built a retaining wall. That's all it is. Practical. Functional. It was never holy, and nothing sacred ever happened there. The wall only matters because of this. It is the closest the Jewish people can get to the temple. Since King Solomon's time, there has been a temple on that site. They put it there because they believed that that was the place where Abraham almost sacrificed Isaac. They call it the stone of foundation. And so, from King Solomon's time on, there was a temple on that site, and right at the stone of foundation was the Holy of Holies, where the Ark of the Covenant was, where God lived. And that temple is long gone. I think it was destroyed in the year 70. And since then, the Jewish people are not allowed to go on that site. But that wall is the closest they get. So, it is just a wall. But because of where it sits, it has become this accidental holy place. As I mentioned, we are studying Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, and last week, the text was all about how doing bad things can get you in trouble, right? Jesus said, not only murder can get you in trouble, but anger as well. Not only adultery, but lust as well. Doing bad things can get you in trouble. And then in chapter 6, he talks about how even good things done the wrong way, that can also get you in trouble. Giving to the poor is wonderful, but it can be a sin if you do it to impress. And being public about your faith is great unless you do it for attention. And even prayer gets taken to task by Jesus. If you are praying long-winded prayers, I know you've thought this for a very long time. If people are praying long-winded prayers and showing them off in public, then even prayers can be a problem. Basically, in this section of his sermon, Jesus tells us to stop focusing on what others might think of you. Don't do things to impress them. Your relationship with God is just that, you and God. And your beliefs don't need to impress anyone. Paul emphasizes the same thing in the beginning of that letter to the Corinthians when he writes that they shouldn't worry if they look like fools. What do they care if they look like fools in this world? For God's foolishness is better than any human wisdom. So there's no reason to show off. There's no reason to worry about how you look because God turns even wisdom and foolishness on its head, even strength and weakness on its head. What a tremendous freedom there is in that. That's what we're looking at through these great words in the Sermon on the Mount, is the freedom that Christ gives us even now. And there is great freedom in knowing you don't have to worry about what the world thinks of you. If we know that people will think we're foolish for believing in Jesus, it just gives us freedom to be fools. And knowing that showing off only hurts our relationship with God, it sets us free from that desire we all have to be the center of attention. It is such freedom Christ gives us to not be the focus. And it is also tremendous responsibility. Here's why. Among the many things that Jesus did in his life, death, and resurrection, among the many things he did was he made you a holy place. And not by accident. He made you a holy place. This is how Paul puts it. He writes, God decided through the foolishness of our proclamation to save those who believe. And years later, St. Teresa of Avila would put it this way. I know you know these words. She wrote, Christ has no body now but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. You are his body. Christ has no body now on earth but yours. Jesus offers these tremendous words of freedom. You are no longer tied up by what the world thinks of you. And that freedom enables great responsibility. For you will be the closest that many people will ever get to the holy. You will be the closest that they ever get to Jesus. That makes you a sacred site indeed. For God decided, through the foolishness of our proclamation, to save those who believe. Now, before this designation overwhelms you and you feel drowned by the burden of it, please remember that your job is simple. It is simple. We've included a piece of artwork in your bulletin. Go ahead and find it. Go ahead and find it. It's at the end of the liturgy. If you were here when Dr. Jenkins spoke, you saw this picture. It's from Germany, from the 16th century. It's part of an altarpiece. And it shows us our job. Of course, Christ is the center, right? He is the focal point. And then there's John the Baptist on the side, but we only notice him for one reason. We only notice him because of that finger. Karl Barth called it the prodigious index finger. Use the word 3 times and it's yours. The prodigious index finger. Look at it. It is 2 or 3 times the size it should be, coming off of his hand. And it's to make the point that John knew his job. It's to make clear what his job is. It's to point not at himself, but at Jesus. And it's our job too. That's why even doing good things but doing them the wrong way matters. It's an opportunity for sin. One church father wrote long ago, he said, "The servants of the devil are tormented by all kinds of vices, but it is the desire of glory that torments the servants of the Lord." Charity is good unless it points the wrong way. And sharing our faith publicly is good unless it points the wrong way. And prayer is the only way to deepen and grow in our faith unless it points the wrong way. Like John the Baptist, we do not point to ourselves. We only point to Jesus. For we are the closest many will ever get to him. You are the closest many will ever get to him. So where you aim matters. What you aim at matters. I'm going to shoot you straight because I was just there. Jesus does not walk the hills of Galilee today. It is beautiful and it is important, but he is not walking there. And he does not walk the streets of Jerusalem either, and he does not walk the neighborhoods of Fort Smith, but you do. You do. And he has enabled you to walk it with amazing freedom. And he has given you the greatest of all responsibilities. People will meet him through you. So what do? We get to work developing a prodigious index finger. Amen.